And so I want to turn it over to Jen to talk a little bit about her organization and the mission, and then we're going to come right back to the collaborative model and the stakeholders that are together to be able to provide the support to families. So Jen.
Great, thanks. Well, thank you guys for all being here, and just being here, really shows and is just validation of the passion that you have, not just to help, our generation of tomorrow, the adults of tomorrow, our children, but then how do we make that connection to the parents? How do we make everyone the owners of their own health? And I really feel that, trying to solve this issue of obesity, the kids are the best corporate wellness model out there. They are the best marketers. They can become the health promoters in their own lives, and then hopefully that transfers to their families as well. So while we're really focused on the youth of today, and certainly here in San Antonio, where the seeds of this program really got its start, it really transfers to the entire community. And what we've been able to do with this program, using technology and using innovation, such as the curriculum that Roger and I co-created, we're trying to build this hub because everything is connected. So it's not just one person can't do it all. It's how do we build a spoke where everybody's interconnected. So going not only from the schools out to the community and out to the parents, but then what Health Collaborative really is doing is how do we bring the community back to the schools. 50 years ago, our schools used to be just sort of these standalone buildings where, we went to school and then we came home. Today, everything is so interconnected that the school is really the hub of the community. So how can we use these wonderful facilities, these huge open gyms, these tracks that go around, how can we make these the places in the center point for the entire community, especially in a community with low social economics, where, as Roger said, you kind of get this buzz going about this great class at the high school or the middle school, and then all of a sudden it just starts snowballing. And with technology, you really have the option to do that. It increases not only teaching and learning within our schools, especially for our students today where that's where they live. I mean, their first language may be English or Spanish, but honestly, their first language is technology. So how do we meet people where we're living our lives, which is we're all, in that computer in our pocket, and then how do we make it so understandable and easy for them so that they feel engaged and they feel empowered, and then we bring that ownership back to each individual? Because really the bottom line is if people don't learn how to do it for themselves, it's just not done. All of you as educators and out there in the communities and trying to teach people how to take better care of themselves, you could have the best programs, the best curriculum, the biggest, greatest benchmark models, the greatest mayor. But if the individual themselves don't buy in and they don't have the motivation themselves and they don't learn how to do it for themselves, in the long term, the sustainability just isn't going to be there. So what we're doing and what we're going to talk to you about today is kind of combining all of these issues and kind of, basically we're just bringing together all of these partnerships to build, not just in San Antonio, but we're going to kind of show you how one district and one community really used all of these things we just talked about and really came together so the sum is greater than the parts. Does everybody know about what the Health Collaborative is, Liz? Do you want to talk about it a little bit? Or?
Yeah, so I'll just give a brief mention. So many of you are already our community partners, but for those of you who have not been familiar with the Health Collaborative, we are actually an organization that is made up of a lot of other organizations. So our board of directors is now we have 11 board members, and it's a very diverse group, all with the intention of making sure that we're bridging resources and connecting with one another so that we can extend opportunities for families. Our primary goal has been to conduct the community health assessment, which is really our seed. That was our foundation. We did this in order to look at our community as a whole, take a snapshot of where we are in health, where we want to be, and then how do we get there. And so on a selfish piece, the Health Collaborative came together because of financial reasons. It was cheaper for us to blend our resources together to conduct this federal requirement. But once we did that first step, it really made sense that, hospital systems are benefiting from this, but who else can actually use this? And so our organization went through a morphing period over the last 15 years, and now we're very diverse in the sense that the health assessment is done as part of our core, but we make a true effort to ensure that all of our other stakeholders and community really utilize this information for grants, for new projects, for reformulating strategic plans, for addressing those gaps in community, and definitely to start up
and to really bridge those gaps for our families. We have a number of projects under us, and we act as an umbrella organization for many community collaboratives, one of which is Project Measure Up. That is our youth obesity program, which started as a data surveillance project. And, it's one thing about community is that you can have a wonderful project on paper. Many of us write grants and we look for those opportunities and we look for those funding dollars, and there's requirements for you to fill when you do those grants. Are you going to do X? A, B, C, D. And it could be wonderful to have a plan and say, you know what, you've received all of this money, we're going to go out and do it in community. But once you get out to community and you try to implement something, if you really want it to be successful, you have to get the support, like Jen was talking about, with those partners that you're wanting to serve. Ultimately, for the family that you're going to serve. If you can't connect those and you can't be flexible in that, then it doesn't matter what a wonderful project you have and how much money you have in your pocket. The end result is not going to be good. And so one of the great things about Project Measure Up is that we did just that. I remember Roger, when I first met him, he's like, oh, no, we don't need another project in our schools, and he was very right. At the time that Project Measure Up went out to launch, and we had all this great funding, and we had our marching orders from our funders, and we had our marching orders from our board. It was the same time that FitnessGram was coming up and legislation passed that schools had to do FitnessGram testing and data collection. And by the way, there's no money. So, Roger, figure out how you're going to do that and have the report to us by the end of the year. Well, when we went out to school districts and said, we have this wonderful project and we're going to show you how to do obesity surveillance, and they're looking at us like, what? No, we don't need that. We need help with this new legislation. And I'm very proud to say that our board of directors and our funders really looked at that and said, this is an opportunity for us to meet the gap. How do we do that? And how do we collaborate? And how do we give the school districts exactly what they need, which is that additional human resource? So we completely changed the project, and now it's evolved into something that is much more community-based and very collaborative with the partners. We also, underneath us, have the San Antonio Health Literacy, which is why you're here today. We have a Young Minds Matter project, which focuses on youth mental health. And these three projects really cross-braid with each other. When we're looking at school districts and we're working with families and we talk about obesity, there's a huge health literacy component on there that we're going to talk about. And how do you educate that family? How do you educate that child about nutrition? How do you give them the tools to empower them to move forward? But how do you also connect with mom and dad? How do you connect with, we have a lot of blended families. We have a lot of seniors that are taking care of younger children. How do we connect with them? Each person, just like a marketing campaign or just like Coca-Cola and just like all of these huge brand companies do a lot of marketing to find out how do we connect with that person. And that's why it's successful. Health literacy is a lot of that. A lot of how you communicate and how do you get people engaged and how do you have them take control of their health. So with Young Minds Matter and the Youth Mental Health Council, we've been able to bridge connections with resources to families. A lot of our obese children, just like the story that Roger shared, this child that's 450 pounds, what is the social impact for that person? What is the mental impact for that person? And how do we connect them with resources? Depression, bullying, stigma, peer pressure, all of these are issues that our youth are facing today. And if we don't address those and we don't provide the resources for them, they snowball into a bigger effect. So our Youth Mental Health Council has really provided us some great tools to work with school districts, work with children to, again, bridge those gaps with regards to resources and interbraid all of these different topics. So for our reasoning and our understanding of health is that it is everyone's responsibility, and all of us connect and tap into the resources at one point or another. And we make a great effort to ensure that we're looking at all the pieces of the puzzle and bring those resources back to families. So that's the Health Collaborative in a nutshell. Took too much, but in a nutshell. And I'll feed that over to you.
Sure. So when Liz and I when Roger and I first got together and we developed this course, we wanted it to be more than just about the physical, because our lives are more than just about running around the gym, and there has to be a connection back to source. So we call the course PE3, which means PE for the mind, body, spirit. So once the course was developed, it was more again about just kind of having this enhanced curriculum or strategy for our teachers and for basically the educators overall. We wanted to say, how do we bring technology? How many of you guys use research in what you do? How important is it to you? You just go ahead and somebody speak out. Is it pretty important to you? Trend analysis, right? So we wanted to, basically, how do we, we've got all the research we need, really. It's really about time. It's time to take action right now. But, we've got this incredible course that that really is enhancing these kids' lives in all areas of their lives. But then how do we capture their transformation from that seed to that blossoming flower? So we really set out to start creating a technology system called the Spirit System, which, again, out of the PE3, I think is the most important thing. Waking up that spirit in kids. And then once you wake up their spirit, we've got to give them the message. And the message is that they can live a life of health and wellness and happiness. And that it's not about lack or dysfunction or disease, but that everybody is an athlete. If you can move, there's an athlete inside of you. So it was really about empowering students and then, again, speaking that language that they understood. Not only capturing their effort during physical education class, but then storing it in a way that would transform day to day and year to year. So by the time our third graders graduate, we could have 9 years of their entire health history in one spot. And then how do we deliver that information in a really understandable way, not just to the student, but to the parents and then to the community leaders such as yourself who can take this trend analysis and say, wow, this is some real data that's not only making a difference, at the individual level, at the class level, at the school level, at the district level, but with a click of a button, we can look across the entire state, the entire country, about how our schools are performing, how our community is getting connected to that. And technology allows us to do that in a really efficient way. So what we set out to do was, I believe that heart rate is really the best measurement for collecting that cardiovascular fitness in that effort. It's the truest, most authentic form of where you are as far as your health and your fitness. Pedometers are one thing where you can wear it, and accelerometers, measure movement. But heart rate really captures that true effort, and obviously with cardiovascular disease being the number one killer in America, and really how do we get back to heart-centered training where we not only optimize the body and the mind, but then we connect it through spirit, which is the total mission of the PE3 program. So the system basically is a simple heart rate monitor, which I'll show you guys here. And at our schools, they have, every student has a monitor. The kids come in and they pick up a monitor, the same monitor every single day. So at Rogers schools, he only needs as many monitors as his largest class. So your largest class is?
Well, they come 45 to 190 if they have 2 teachers, so it can be that big.
Right. And we, we're in a school up in the Dallas area with 73 little 8th grade girls in middle school. And so they all have their own monitors. But, so if Roger has 45 students in his class, these monitors can go from periods 1 through 6 and facilitate all the kids because they're time date stamped. So when I come in and I'm heart rate monitor number 8, I can wear it from 9 to 10. Roger comes in, he's monitor 8 from 10 to 11. So the system knows, who's wearing the monitor at which time. So the kids come in, it's really a simple process. They come in and pick up their heart rate monitor. Again, we're putting all the ownership onto them. They swipe it over a small reader, and I can I can show you the program. So they come in, and it basically gives them kind of in an overall management system. The teacher decides, what class it is. Is it first period, second period? Is it their soccer team? What activity they want to do. There's thousands of lessons that they can choose from. And then they select the time period that they're going to wear it for. It also takes attendance for you. So once the kids swipe in, it tells them, who's here and who's not. So again, they can get right into an activity and they can start that class, which is so limited already. Some of our schools, only have 30 minutes a day. Some are 50, but still, is that enough time to really understand the literacy of health? If you look at somebody like Martin, who was, one of these students in our PE3 classes, health to him was a completely foreign language. He had never heard of it before. I mean, he sort of knew some concepts of it, but if you think about, if you guys were going to take a foreign language and learn Spanish or French, could you do it 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes a week, once or twice a week? I mean, how fast would you learn that language? So that's what we're doing to our kids. These kids have this is a completely foreign language to them, and we're saying, hey, you're going to learn this in an hour a week. That's all you get to learn it. And I just don't think that's enough time. So again, what the system's trying to do is we're trying to give some really objective data that kids need this education and this language every single day of their lives. Because the experiences you have as a kid become your reality when you become an adult. So whatever experiences you have as a child, those are usually carry over to your habits and your patterns as an adult. So if we can start, I mean, I was an athlete. I was basically my own PE program all by myself. I was in soccer, track, basketball, swimming, cross country. And movement has just been a part of my language. I can't wake up, on a day without going, how am I going to get my fitness today? Somebody like Martin, he's never asked that question in his life. So it's about getting that repetition and practicing. Practicing makes perfect. So if you're practicing down the wrong path, you're only going to get to the wrong place faster. If you're practicing on the right path, that's just going to build and build and build until that success comes. So that's really what the system is trying to create, is trying to create this daily story of you where every single student matters or every single individual matters every single day they're involved in the program. So the kids come in, they take their monitor. Let me see here if I pick number 8. And, right in the way. So they have a little reader. This is basically just a little RFID reader. They come in and they tap it. And you guys want me to show you the system in action, actually? Okay, good. Yeah, why don't we do that? That's better. Okay, so this is the system right here. And you can see up at the top, it says start, pick up, monitor, return, and wrap up. Our PE teachers, they're coaches, they're teachers. I don't want them to spend time learning technology or, if you guys are out in the community when we use this with the Bexar County Health Collaborative, the Health Collaborative used the system with 200, individuals at the community level every single day. So, these people are coming in to do Zumba classes. And again, we not only use the system in our schools, but during the summer, instead of just having them packed away in a closet, the Health Collaborative took them off the shelves and then brought community. So again, we're talking about that hub of not only engaging our kids, but in the summer and now after school in our classes, the monitors being used more efficiently. So I'm going to use the Ultimate Superheroes group. Again, these are just a couple activities that I put in here. We'll go ahead and do a measurement goal. And all the goals are based on an intensity, because we want these kids to get their heart rates up. So I've got number 8, which is Astro Boy. So what Astro Boy will come in when he comes into class. It'll touch it. It'll say, hey, Astro Boy, welcome to class. Here's the goal today. We're going to work out for 13 minutes with your heart in a moderate to vigorous pace, and we're going to spend 6 minutes kind of warming up and cooling down. Now, if they were going to do something even more intense, they'd have a little bit of red up at the top. So he's checked in. It tells me right here that he's in class, and so he's got a little running man that tells me, that Astro Boy has come to class today. So then all he does is he puts his monitor on, and I'm just going to use my fingers to get a little heart rate here. You'll hear a beep here in a second. So this tells me that the monitor's on. It starts blinking green, and basically he just puts it on. The teacher gets going with class, or the instructor, the fitness instructor, and they just go about their workout. They just get engaged. If I want to see how Astro Boy is doing throughout the course, I just come close to the monitor, and I can kind of see. Oops, I forgot to change color. Got to put it into the next mode. So in monitor mode, and I go ahead and put it on over the monitor. Hold on, gotta get to working again. Come on, Astro Boy, don't flatline on me here. Pressure's on. Okay, so, wait, hold on. Oh yeah, see a little teeny bit down at the bottom there. I mean, I barely got my hands up, but he's basically in blue. He's just kind of sitting around. And this screen stays a little bit longer, so if the teacher wants to have kind of a teachable moment, they can bring Astro Boy over and say, hey, you don't look like you're working that hard. But we don't have a watch with it because we want kids to stay present in their activity. Like someone like Martin, or the young girl in the film, Ashley, when she was in PE class, it took her 13 weeks to learn how to ride a bike. It took her just to go from dribbling from one hand and just trying to get to the other. So if we had her focusing on heart rate and everything else, it's kind of like being present in the moment. So we want them to get the innate feeling of what does it feel like to be in the yellow zone? So all the lessons are sustain yellow for 20 minutes. Or if you guys are out with adults and you're working with a patient who may be rehabbing, and you say, listen, I just want you to go out every single day, and I want you to get 20 minutes in the yellow zone. I kind of built this program for my mom. She goes to curves, and she's not into technology, and I'm like, Mom, just put the monitor on and just work out for 30 minutes and just try and stay, a little bit of blue, but I really want you to stay in that yellow zone. She's like, oh, I get that. So class is over, and we go ahead and hit next. Basically you can start to return, let's say there's a fire drill and you needed to change the time. And then it gives me a little exclamation point because Astro Boy hasn't turned his monitor in. So Astro Boy turns his monitor back in, And this is basically what my heart rate did with my thumbs. I really worked hard there. Sorry, it's not quite true. But so it kind of gives him a thing. And we got through a class, like I said, we got through a class of about 60, 70 kids in about, we can get about 15 monitors a minute. So every 4 seconds, beep, 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 beep. I mean, we were through a class in about 3 minutes of 70 girls walking through class. So it's, there's not a logjam of getting the monitors back in. Once the information is uploaded, it just kind of tells me that I burned 3 calories. I can kind of see how I did individually, or I can go back to the group. And I'm ready to save the data. So in about 2 or 3 seconds, that data is now uploaded into the web. And I'll just go to my website here, and I can click on my spirit system. So Liz is across town, or Roger's across town, and he wants to see how his teachers have done, how his kids have done. So he can go ahead and just log into his system, which is password protected. And go to his groups and see in the Ultimate Superheroes that works out. We can see that at 10:05, at 10:35, I can see exactly what one participant in the class was Astro Boy, and I can see what that heart rate was. So, basically, if you're going to be educating basically what we do with our students is, we basically say, hey, here's your data that you can understand. But then across town, Roger can take the trend analysis and the aggregate data and show not only how the individual is doing, but how the class is doing. So it's all about in accountability as well, not just for the student, but for our educators as well. How do we improve our physical education classes, in our community efforts? And using data like this that's objective, it's no longer Roger's opinion. He can go talk to his teacher and say, listen, your kids look like they're working about 4 minutes a day and they're in blue the whole time. Is there something that I can do to help you enhance your physical education classes? So we're just raising the bar all across the board. But it just doesn't happen in PE, and I'll let Liz talk a little bit about the collaboration that we did this summer. Again, using the monitors within our school and using technology to help our kids, but then how do we expand that out to community? Again, so we're going out to, in to out, and then out back in. So Liz, talk a little bit about the collaboration we had this summer.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on, let me get here you go.
Oh, that's fine. And if you could leave that there, that would be great.
Okay, okay, sure.
So, we started off with using the model of the school districts, and of course, with the school districts, there's pieces of this that we need to. There's always a work in progress. How do we make things better? How do we make things more efficient? How do we engage get the buy-in, right, from the coaches, and how do we get the buy-in from the students and so forth? So this has been a work in progress, but it's been very favorable for us, and we decided that we wanted to use this model out in community, like Jen said. So in the summer, the San Antonio Sports approached the Health Collaborative and said, we really need help with promoting fitness at the school district level. Many of our schools are closed. Roger works probably 95 hours a week, during the school year. And so sometimes, when we go back to a partner and say, hey, Roger, I know you work 95 hours a week, but, summer's coming up, and I know you're supposed to be on vacation, but, we want you to help us do a fitness program. Well, we're very sensitive to understanding that there's limitations and that there's human capital limitations. And so for us, it was an opportunity to bring the spirit system and say, we already have this valuable resource. The Health Collaborative was able to fund the project and fund the spirit system to go into the school districts. And we said, Roger, we've got to just keep doing this during the summer. And it's not just about talking to our students about health, but how do we make that a family unit effort? A child can be told every single day, you need to eat better, you need to go work out. Dr. Davis said that this morning, it's like someone saying you need to go work out 5 times a week. And to a person, sometimes that's overwhelming. And what is exercise? The whole concept of exercise is that you don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to belong to a certain group in order for you to exercise. You can exercise in your own home. Cleaning your house is exercise. It's exercise for me. Sweeping and mopping, oh my God, worst thing in the world. But my heart rate is up. Running after kids, that's exercise. And anything that motivates movement is a step in the right direction. So we reformulate or rethink about what is exercise and connect that back to moms and dads. People say, I don't have time to exercise. I can't go to a gym. well, you know what, come out this evening, and we're going to have a Zumba class. Oh, I've heard of Zumba. It costs too much money. No, it's free. Come over. We started off with about 5 or 6 people. The next week, we were up at 30. Then we were up at 50. Then we were up at 60. So the idea of fitness costs money, it's inconvenient, I don't have time, I can't do it, I don't feel comfortable. Once we started to use the system and we started to inform people about the free opportunity, there was a lot of fears behind it. All of those things that I just named for you, those were big fears for community members. Childcare. Well, how am I going to get there? Don't worry about it. Bring your children, because this is a family event. We want you to be healthy, but we also want your kids to be healthy. This is not babysitting. This is activity. For kids, it wasn't about a routine, let's go dribble a ball or what have you. This is about just staying active. So we did a lot of free play with the children. We did parachutes, we did hopscotch, we did relay racing, and kids were like, oh my God, I had so much fun, and they were so tired afterwards. And all they said was like, did you guys like your exercise? And they're, what exercise? We were playing the whole time. Exactly. You were playing and you were having fun. Moms and dads that were coming over to Zumba, they started off saying, you know what, I can't do this. It's just too much for me. That's okay. We had personal trainers that were out there that were working with them one-on-one, teaching them the basics of Zumba, and really just about movement. It wasn't about going very fast. It wasn't about being super flexible. It was about, Zumba, if you guys have seen it, is a very active and energized, it's a form of dance. And so we had a lot of older women that were having a hard time. But the key was consistency and coming out. So for 12 weeks, we were out at 6 sites. And we encourage families to come out more than once a week. Experience it in different community groups. Look to see, bring a friend. And before you know it, those people that were taking baby steps and that they were doing their Zumba like this is literally how they were moving. By week 6, these ladies were dancing. These ladies were moving. We had reports at the end of the survey. There's this one lady who submitted a survey and said, I have never been able to dance. And she went to a wedding that August. And she said, for the first time in, I don't remember how many years, she was actually able to dance the whole night. And that was huge for her. Because again, if you think about fitness, somebody could say, oh, well, I didn't lose any weight. I looked at my weight from when we started the program and that we ended the program. And I lost maybe 2 pounds. There were some people that didn't lose any weight at all. But when we looked at the heart rate monitor and we said, but wait, you are doing a good job. Because when we started at the program, your heart rate level was through the roof. And you only did 15 minutes of Zumba because that's all you could do. Here we are 6 weeks later, 12 weeks later. Look at your heart rate. Where's your heart rate? It's at the healthy zone. Look at how much longer you're staying active in the Zumba class, 45 minutes. That is a huge reflection of improvement for families that can see the value in those senses. So the heart rate monitor really allowed us to bring that information, to collect that data, but data only says it only tells us half the story. It's really when you connect that with the person and make it their own, it's their own health profile. They are the ones that are deciding to come out every single evening. They're the ones that are deciding to say, you know what, we had people coming in and literally getting upset with us if their pedometer wasn't working. That is wonderful. We want you to get mad at us when your pedometer is not working because you know what? That lets us know that you're interested. You are looking at the value of coming out and having this experience, but more so, what are you doing when you leave here? Through the fitness program, we started off with registering people, bringing in with the heart rate monitors, getting them strapped in, and we had not one person tell us, no, I don't want to do the heart rate monitor. People were lining up, and they would wait for their heart rate monitor, and they were very diligent about making sure, I'm number 14, I'm number 46, I'm this and that. And they were excited about it because we were giving them tools, valuable information for them to come back every single week and check on progress. Many of them were joining additional work groups. We had, again, 4 opportunities. We had Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. at 6 different sites, and people were traveling from one place to another. If it was closer for their job, if it was closer for their house, they had different spots in community that they could connect to. And that was really valuable for them. We had a lot of remarks with regards to, I never imagined that Zumba was going to be so much fun. Or I'm so grateful for the opportunity because I was able to bring my whole family with me. I can't afford to go to a gym and pay $45 for a Zumba class for myself. Here, I was able to bring myself, but then also bring my aunt, bring my uncle, bring my daughter. And this was a complete family component. And most of them, about 98% of them, were at positive results after the 12-week session. So we looked at that and we said, Roger, what are we going to do? It's coming August time, and Fit Family Challenge only happens for the summer. It's unfortunate and it's unfair as a community partner to say, we have this great program for you, but it's only going to be 12 weeks. So at 12 weeks, you're on your own. That's not fair. There are many resources within our community. There are many partners that are looking to bridge that gap. And we were very fortunate to have Roger and the different school districts really look at the end result for the families, get the one-on-one from them, and say, we need to continue this. And they were advocating for this program to continue. And what a great opportunity, because the board for the school districts, the coordinators said, families want it, we're going to give it to them. And for us as a community organization, we said, districts want it, board wants it, family wants it, let's make it happen. But funders, supporters of the program said, all right, let's figure out where we're going to get this additional funding in order for us to continue it. The amount of money that it takes for us to put on a family fitness event with the resources that Roger provides and the school districts provide, and the funding that comes that comes from our program is $50 a night. That's it. $50 for one night. And if you think about the math behind that, you have up to 62 people attending that one night. That's just adults. That's not including the children. That's a huge impact to them, especially for those that see a lot of different barriers coming their way. And when you open up the opportunity, they will understand it. We've received already feedback from other families that have said, you know what, I'm making the financial decision to invest in my health and to really look for other opportunities, connecting with YMCA, connecting with Central Med. There are programs out there that help families that are in need or have financial need in order for them to connect to a Y or to Central Med, making it very affordable. So, I just wanted to kind of demonstrate the value behind that and definitely bring to the point that the high-tech piece is so important, but that high-touch piece, communicating with parents and with children one-on-one and really guiding them through some of this information was really important, because you can give someone the tools, but if you never explain it or you never demonstrate the value that it has and kind of translate that data to English or to Spanish or having that one-on-one conversation, it doesn't work. It's really a partnership between using the technology but also using the communication skills in order to bridge those two together. So.
And as soon as you leave class, you'll get as soon as you touch the monitor or the reader, an email is sent to your smartphone or your computer that shows exactly what you did. So Astro Boy would have that exact same thing on his phone, so he could leave class, or a lot of these ladies would leave the Zumba class. They'd have all that information right there, and then they could, touch a screen and go deeper into their workout. But it's all about like that, not only that instant feedback. Our kids live completely in the present. They don't, the system is really like, what did you do today? How does it compare to yesterday? And how do we get better tomorrow? But kids are all about today. It's like, okay, this is all that matters. So they see that data on the screen, they leave class, and they're on to their next big, thing that they're thinking about. But from our parents who have really decided that they were going to invest in their health, as Liz said, having that direct feedback in that really simple matter of red, yellow, blue, I think it really resonates no matter what your language barriers would be, or it's universal across the board for people that are committed to improving their health.
And the parents, when they were leaving, they'd look on the screen and Trina would show them all the data, so they were always really eager to see how did they do. So she showed them on the screen, this is where you're at, and then she would say, well, this is what you need to do. So the parents really got in touch with this, they used it, they liked it, and what I like is when Jenny was talking about, well, if I was in my office and I was checking all 90 schools what are you doing in PE? But the high schools primarily. And if there was data coming in, that would tell me, hey, the kids are not just sitting, on the bleachers. They're actually doing some activity in class, and that's what we want to look for. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that the ladies were asking for nutrition information. They want not just the physical activity component, but they want nutrition. What are you going to help us with and do that? So we're working with the YMCA. I believe there's a program out there that's free that we're trying to get together for all the high schools. And then one last comment is, I was at another high school the other day, and let me tell you how committed the ladies are, the community. I saw one lady, and she was dressed in blue jeans, and she was dressed in a shirt like when you go out in the wintertime and you wear a corduroy shirt to do, whatever, yard work. She was dressed in a corduroy shirt, blue jeans, and I don't remember if she had tennis shoes or not, but she was out there doing Zumba. She didn't have money for warm-ups or anything else, but she was out there doing this. And that's what I'm saying. The community, once you show them this, they really want to do it, and they'll be there every day. So we have it at different high schools. They can go from one high school to the other, Monday through Thursday.
And when we thank you, Roger, for saying that, because that reminded me of something I wanted to definitely mention is the impact of the program and the way the community has really adopted it is that in the summer we were at 6 different sites, one time a week for each site. As of September the 5th, we are now at 10 sites at SAISD. We are at 1 site at Harlandale, 1 site at Southside. We are at Southwest ISD doing health education as a partnership with the Patient Institute, and we'll be talking to families in direct connect with them. And we're doing 2 separate types of fitness programs at Southwest. One is a men's health program, and the second one is actually a senior program, which is Zumba Gold. With Northside ISD, we'll be at 8 different sites through a 6-week period in each general area. And then we've got a program over at Edgewood ISD through the neighborhood place. So you can see that the seed has been planted. And the best thing about it is sustainability. So one of the questions is, well, how is it that you receive funding to do this for the summer, and now you're going into the school districts, there's still funding that's being provided there. The key for us, and it has been for since we started, is that no one should be dependent on another. We've worked with Roger and with the school districts to provide that human resource, that volunteer corps that we have that goes out and helps with fitnessgram testing, data collection, PEP grant, anything that they need. We provide the volunteer support to go out there. But our goal is that the school districts are able to connect with that volunteer corps such that if we cease to exist tomorrow, and many nonprofits cease to exist from one year or another. But if we did go away, that partnership has already developed. You are not dependent on me. You're not dependent on technology or Jen to come and introduce you to the technology. You've taken those tools and you've moved forward. And so for us, we're looking at sustainability with regards to working with the school districts. And, they provide the gym. They open it up for us. They give us a shared use. We have a shared use agreement and a memorandum of understanding with the school districts. So they're bringing that resource to the table. The trainers are coming to the school districts, developing relationships with them. Many of Roger's teachers are actually PE instructors that have said, I can do that. I can take an hour of my evening to come and help the parents and come and help the kids. Why? Because that school belongs to me. I teach at that school. I'm invested in this because I see that it's directly benefiting the kids that I serve. That's sustainability. When everyone sees themselves and is part of that solution or is part of that project, then it becomes much more sustainable. Funding, there's pockets of funding for programs, and again, $50 for one night of activity. It's big. We have partners and supporters that come and freely donate health education, materials, tools for families. So there's a way for this to continue to stay sustainable because there's so many different partners that are looking for opportunities to do it, and how do we just coordinate all of these efforts to continue that going forward. So congratulations to the school districts for doing that. Melanie? So the $50 generally, it covers the trainer fee. So if you have, we work with a lot of volunteers. So you just talked about the different sites that we have. But for the trainer fee, we definitely provide them some kind of stipend so that they can have mileage, things like that. But for the most part, many are volunteering, or we're looking for the volunteers that come out. We have a lot of kinesiology students, but because we're working with Zumba and we want to make sure that they are certified, we have to ensure that piece of it. So we do pay a stipend to the instructors.
We've trained all our teachers with Zumba over the last 3 years, and we had Zumba Tomics, which is for elementary primarily. So we're working with Zumba Incorporated. We're supposed to be doing a press conference soon, because we're the only district in the U.S. that has district-wide Zumba Tomics for the elementary schools. Okay?
So there again, extending that resource and sharing that resource. Zumba, the certification is about $300, $210. And so if you already have these trained people and you already have that in your community, then how do you bring them out, and how do you provide that opportunity for them to continue to reach out to those families? Selfishly as a Zumba instructor, I'm not a Zumba instructor, but selfishly as a Zumba instructor, we have seen people want to come out. Why? Because they're going to want to build their client base in one way or another. This is an opportunity for them to do that. Many of them that are coming out are very dedicated to making sure that that family or that person understands truly what it is that they're working on, how they're working on it, and how are they going to achieve success. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to pass by, but Rita from Inspiration for Life, who is out there, she is our master trainer. She's the one that started and spearheaded with us in the different sites. And she's the one out there recruiting all of these trainers and getting them trained and making sure that they've got their certification. So you can see that although the idea is general, there's so many people that are plugging into this that have a dedicated passion to continue it going forward.
And the reason Zumba Incorporated worked with us is because when James was talking to them for Zumba about the film Help Me to Heal, they really bought into it. They realized that she was out there helping kids and coming out with a documentary. So they were really committed in helping us to get the program working.
I just want to run through a little bit of the data that we did collect this summer. The system, how many of you guys rely on grants for your work? Great. So what Liz has been able to do is she's been able to collect, and Roger as well, about 36 different points of data that we've basically turned into. So when you talk about that $50 value, when she goes back to the funders who supported this program, she can say, hey, we not only made a huge difference. I mean, how many times have you gotten funding or you've done a program and then at the end of the day there's nothing to show for it? It's like, I think I made a difference, but I really don't know, if I really did or not. Well, Liz at this point knows exactly, the pulse, literally, of what this program did. So basically we had, I don't know if this has a little thing on it. Nope. Okay, so at the top it says the selected groups. I'm sorry, this isn't a great copy, but there were 7 different sites. In the group performance, you can't really read those numbers, but it says 2.452 million steps were taken, almost 400,000 calories were burned, and about 44,860 minutes were spent in the yellow and red zone, so at an elevated heart rate. And then it goes kind of on your per participant, but you can kind of see over here what the goal was we were supposed to be reaching, and then what the actual participant did, working out, an average of an hour and a half, during the period of time, and then how much time they spent in each of their elevated heart rate zones. So when she looks at this data, and it's not just about collecting the data and going, great job, we did great, let's, show the numbers. It also, like Liz says, shows you where the gaps are. So how do we improve on the program, this ever-evolving, living program? So we can see that, people that came to one session, there was a huge amount that came to one, then they never came back. But there was 6 people who actually came. They came to every single session, all 12 times. So now, how do we motivate to get more people not just coming to 1 or 2 sessions and then dropping out? How do we get them to come 6, 7, 8, 9 times during the 12-week period? So it allows to really evolve the program. Some of the other numbers we saw was there was a huge amount of women that came. At the beginning, I think it was even less than this. We only had about 3 or 4% of the guys coming. But then as, the wives would be doing the Zumba classes, which is more of a female, centric activity, they bring their husbands out. So we started at the end, when the enthusiasm started growing, we start to see more guys come out. Sorry about that. And then Northside, you can see, had, great attendance. They, really got San Antonio as well, kind of really the leaders of the pack on getting, the daily and weekly motivation out. From an overall participants, you can also look at like where they were coming from, so we can see, what sites were being the most successful. And then even going down to every single zip code in Bexar County, where were people coming from? What zip codes were resonating with this most? Why were they resonating with it most? And so using that, and then just kind of looking at a side-by-side comparison of Northside and San Antonio, looking at that data of where, so, just breaking the data down from like the big picture, the 50,000-foot level, all the way down to the individual level. I don't know why this keeps changing, sorry. I think it's on some sort of a timer. I'm like, stop it. So just a couple highlights of the program. You're really using the combination of technology and community to help individuals become more responsible, to educate them through that support, that accountability, and that motivation. I was an athlete. I would join a team, and I was forced. I didn't even have to work for it. I had 15 best friends who are still my best friends today. It was just given to me as being part of a team sport. A lot of folks like Martin and Ashley in the film, and a lot of the kids who PE may be their only time they're together in a social, interactive atmosphere. It's the only time they're together through movement. They're not going to go join a team. They're not going to go join the band. So this is their only shot of being in that team atmosphere. So when you bring in these families the same way, they were never part of these athletic teams. So they're not in a position to be given instant friends by joining. This program allows them to have instant friends where there's 60 other ladies, and guys that are all thinking the same thing. They're all struggling with the same issues, coming together and motivating each other. And we just saw it snowball, over the course of this. So it was just a really interesting dynamic that occurs when you're in that camaraderie of group training. And obviously what we saw everybody from our young teenagers all the way up to 60, 70-year-old ladies and guys out there. So at any age, any ability, and any income, this is feasible in your efforts as well. And again, that camaraderie, they loved working out with the group, as I just mentioned, and then just basically connecting all the stakeholders. And that's what it's really all about. Like I said at the beginning, it's not just one entity that's going to solve this issue or bring this trends, so they start reversing in the other way. It really is, it takes a village. The instant feedback, I think, was one of the biggest highlights, as Roger mentioned, and then what it does is it just gives them a foundation. So if you can, again, we kind of have the seed thing going. In the film, it's about a butterfly, going from the caterpillar to the butterfly, and health needs a hero. And I'll show you a little clip of that in just a second. But, when you're a seed, you can stay that hard shell seed, and you can stay that way for the rest of your life. But what makes it beautiful and the transformation is when you lose that hard shell and you blossom into that flower. And that's what we're trying to do, not only with our children, but reteach our adults that sure you could stay where you are and you might be content, but you're not fulfilling the purpose you're here on this planet. And so it's all about, like, again, connecting back to that community, that self-worth, that self-esteem, and back to that education about, transforming yourself to have the best life that you can possibly have. And now, again, as Liz has kind of mentioned, I'll let you kind of wrap up about just where the next steps are now that the foundation is laid, where we're really headed from here, and then we can take some questions as well.
And so I pretty much just gave you a highlight of where we're going now. We are expanding into different sites, and we're also working with faith-based centers in order to provide the opportunity to them too. Because as many of you know, many of our families connect with faith-based first before they connect to any of us as agencies. And so we want to take advantage of that opportunity and really work with them to provide them also the resources that they need to provide that support to their congregation. So that's going to be and we're very excited to see how that works through. I wanted to make a quick note with regards to the data that Jen provided. That was a sampling of our total population. We had over 1,300 participants throughout the summer. So we didn't have enough monitors. And when I was talking about people waiting for their monitors is because every time they would come, if they didn't get there in time, we were out of monitors. We were out of pedometers. And that tells you, again, the impact of how, when you give education, when you provide that information to families, they can really take a step forward in saying, you know what, I want this, I need this. we were trying to get ready, and people were lining up. Okay, where's my number? Where's my monitor? That's mine. No, that's yours. And so that's exactly what we wanted to see. So again, going back to the data, Jen showed just a small sampling of what it was for the summer. But there was just so much more, and there was so much more trend analysis, and we are so grateful to the San Antonio Sports Foundation for providing us that seed opportunity, and are looking for new partnerships so that we can continue to expand the resource going forward. So